Well, welcome everybody. We're going to officially start this webinar, how to get listings from people who say no, which is really the start of any negotiation. If they said yes, there isn't much selling that needs to happen. That's an order that you just took. So today we're going to talk about getting listings from people who say no, but also with integrity and professionalism, because I think that matters a lot in our industry. With us today is special guest Ron Cronin, who is the president of business development at the Mike Ferry organization. Ron, you've been there now for 16 years.
That's right.
You speak all over the country, in multiple countries, because we've seen you in multiple countries. You have trained thousands of agents, I'm assuming, over the 16 years, if not even more than that. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So
thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to talk to your group. Looks like we have quite a few people on this webinar too, which is exciting.
And they're still coming in, because
Yeah.
if you're not late, so people are rolling in. So today, Ron, we have you on because you've been out there. I wanted to tell everybody I've been involved. I've been at Redex for 13 years. You've been so as long as I've been at Redex, you've been with the Mike Ferry organization. And the first event that I ever went to was in 2006. So I've been going to Mike Ferry events for a very long time. And I have seen Ron speak in many different events with many different topics. I've seen the progression of even some of the presentations that they've changed as the market has changed. So has some of the ways that they implement the methodologies and principles that they teach. Every time that Ron opens his mouth, we learn. So yeah, no expectations there, Ron. But so every time he speaks, we get to know things. So we're especially grateful to have you here. Just to get started, would you tell the people on maybe just pick up where I left off, a little bit about you, your experience as you've trained agents, and then we'll get into what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, it's real straightforward, Curtis. I got licensed in California in 1995. I sold real estate for almost 6 years before I ever was introduced to Mike Ferry or anything like any kind of training like this. I struggled for 5 years. I went to a Mike Ferry event. I saw what other agents that Mike trains were doing, what they were doing with their time. I learned that they had a whole new level of communication that I hadn't learned yet. And I was blown away. And to make a long story short, I went to work for the company. I've been here now, as you said, for 16 years. I started as an entry-level ticket salesperson at our company selling tickets to events, and worked my way up the ladder. And now I have this executive position, and I get to go around and do a lot more speaking, a lot more training, and teaching the Mike Ferry system. And I've got a little portion of that. I sliced out a little portion of the Mike Ferry system to teach you and everyone on this webinar today.
Well, thank you again so much for being here. Tell me, so we chatted briefly before we went live here. I'm just going to turn the time over to you. I think that you have some really important things. Just to let everybody know the agenda, Ron's going to talk a little bit about just handling objections in general. And then we're going to go in. We sent a survey. Many of you probably filled out that survey of what your number one objection that you have trouble overcoming. We've kind of distilled that down into the most popular ones, and Ron's going to help us overcome those. So, Ron, why don't you just take it away? How do we overcome objections?
Thank you. Yeah, so let's talk about that, okay? And what's interesting, Curtis, is when it comes to the art of real estate or the art of sales skills, everybody always wants to learn how to handle objections. We can, everybody comes to objection handling training and anything that we do, we always want to learn how to handle it. And I understand, but the truth is everyone on this call needs to understand this. You're getting objections for a reason. Okay. Now, Mike Ferry said something to me years ago. He says, Ron, would you like to change the responses you're getting from the public and from your potential customers? Because they're saying, I want to wait, I want to think it over, I have a friend in the business, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I want to change the response. I want more yeses. And Mike said to me in a very straightforward voice, he says, then change what you say so you can change the response you're getting. And then it occurred to me at that point that I was really creating all the objections that I was receiving. And I just thought it was their fault, the sellers. I didn't realize I was setting myself up for that. But once I learned it, then I could learn how to avoid it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. In fact,
Okay, good.
I talked to actually, I was talking to a child psychologist, was his profession. And he said, if you want to stop the dumb responses your kids give you, then ask better questions, right?
Right, or doing different behavior. Yeah, good for you.
Exactly. So,
all right, so the way I want to start off today, we're going to work on objection handling. I'm going to teach you some skills. I'm going to teach you some ways to go about it so that you feel confident, you feel better, and then, maybe you'll go out and attack your prospecting with a different level of enthusiasm. Okay, so here's how it starts off when you talk about objections. Why don't you write down number one? Okay, the first point today is we have to understand what is an objection. Okay, Curtis, I just lost your video, just so you know.
I did. You're so much better looking than I am. I'm just going to let them look at you while you teach them.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks. So the first point we're going to talk about is what is an objection? What's the definition? Okay, so write this down. An objection is a question in the mind of the customer that remains unanswered. Okay, an objection is a question in the mind of the customer that remains unanswered. It's a question. So I was always like, well, why don't, if the homeowners want to ask me a question, why don't they just ask? Why do they object instead? So I had to figure it out. Here's what I learned. You got to remember that homeowners, we're just going to use them as an example because that's who we all prospect. Homeowners, they don't want to be vulnerable to a salesperson. They don't want you to know all of their motivation. And in the beginning, when you're prospecting, they may not want you to know anything. So they tend to keep their cards close. They're going to hold their cards close and not let anybody see. Okay. So if they were to, an example, if they were to ask me something like, hey, Ron, would you work with my wife and I on the commission, or is the commission negotiable? See, if they ask me that question, they're afraid that I'm going to know that they're considering me, or that they want to hire me, or they want to work with me. And they don't want me to know that. They don't want to reveal that they're considering me. So they're not just going to ask you the straightforward question. They're going to object. They're going to say, I'm not paying 6%. And then they're going to wait and see what you do. Okay, see how you handle it. So for instance, think about that. The objection is, I'm not paying 6%. But the question is, will you work with us on it? Is the commission negotiable? Is there any value to paying 6? They're trying to communicate with you. So you've got to remember that an objection, no matter what it is, I want to wait, I want to think it over, got a friend in the business, no matter what it is, I want you to look at it as they're trying to ask you something secretly. Okay, secretly. Write down number 2. Because when we're prospecting, we not only hear objections, but some of the homeowners have legitimate conditions going on, okay? So number 2, a condition is a statement of fact that you can do nothing about. Sometimes when we're asking for an appointment or we're asking for the signature on the listing agreement, they tell us something, why they can't move forward. And excuse me, some things are not objections. Some things are real. They're conditions, and we can't change it. We can't overcome it. So the next step is just to move on. Okay, so for instance, if you were wanting someone to sign a listing agreement or give you a listing appointment, and she says to you, well, you know what, my husband just had open heart surgery. He has to remain in bed, calm and quiet for the next 6 weeks. Okay, guys and gals, you're not going to be able to overcome that in order to get the house listed. It's the condition you can't change. Just move on at that point. Identify which are objections, which are conditions. Okay. And so if you start off with that, you first learn that the objection is just a question. So don't be afraid of it. Just learn how to answer the question. Okay, we're going to learn that today. Okay, so a few more thoughts for you before we move into the actual objection handling is write down the third thought. You have to remember that there's a direct correlation between how many objections you receive and then the strength and the quality of your presentation. There's a direct correlation. Okay. So for instance, if you know you use the scripts, but you don't have them memorized and you read them and that kind of thing, well, that could be causing the objections. The way you deliver the script, the way you ask questions, the dialogue that you have with the customer is probably creating the objection that you're receiving. You've got to remember that, a direct correlation. Now, if you get a lot of objections at the listing presentation, well, then you're going to go back and examine your ability to present. Do you have the presentation memorized? I mean, heck, it's step one. Okay. Do you rehearse it? Have you videotaped it? Have you recorded it so that you can work out the kinks and the deficiencies, if you will? Have you done that work? No? Then you're probably getting a lot of objections because your presentation, okay. Okay, so just remember that it's usually the salesperson that's creating all of this. Write down number 4. Number 4. I think it's important for you to keep in mind that handling objections is primarily mind over matter. Not that we're going to learn magic today, but it's mind over matter. And what I mean is that we can remove any fears we have about objections by simply learning the answers and practicing them daily. Right? Why don't you just learn the answers? I mean, agents literally spend their entire career trying to avoid the rejection or just giving up on objections. Well, why don't you just learn the simple answers? If you think about it, in my opinion, there's really only about 6 real objections. And then there's all these versions of the core 6. For instance, I have a friend in the business. We hear that all the time. But we also versions. We hear, well, my daughter has a license. I already know somebody. If I do list, I have a friend who will do it for me. Or, there's different versions of the core objection. You have to identify what is the core. Because when you learn maybe 2 or 3 answers to the core, you can apply it to all the variations. But there's only like 6, maybe 5 that you really have to understand. Okay. So how do we remove the fears? We learn the answers. And where do you go to learn the answers? Well, Redex provides scripts, like their organization provides the scripts, the objection handlers, ways to respond, dialogues, extra questions to ask. I mean, it's all available for you if you just log on and then go find it. Okay, it's not a big deal. But you have to learn the answers. And then as Mike Ferry says, practice them daily. We hear them every day. We want to be rock solid at our response. We don't want to hesitate. We want to be able to come off with a quick, sharp response like we know what we're doing, right? So we've got to practice every day. I practice every day, Curtis, and I haven't sold real estate for 10 years, but I still practice the objections and the questions and the scripts every day. Why? My job requires it as a speaker. I have to be able to teach people this, so I have to know it. But my question's always been to agents, why don't you guys know this? Right? Why do I have to learn these and you don't? Okay. I think I've made my point. Please write down number 5. Write down number 5. As someone good at dealing with objections, you want to remember number 5 is don't try and handle objections during prospecting or the pre-qualifying process. You want to try not to deal with objections when you're prospecting. Now, I know they give them to you, but that's where a lot of agents make mistakes is you in the middle of your script or you're trying to set an appointment, the seller will say an objection to you, and we feel like we have to crush it or tackle it or handle it or deal with it at that time. When the truth is, a lot of these things they say, you could just let it fly right by. Just move your head and let it go by. I'm talking to the owner, sir, when you sell the home, where are you going next? He says, listen, I'll have you know my son has a real estate license. Well, that's where agents make the mistake. They want to jump in. Oh, can I tell you why that's a problem? Can I tell you why that makes me nervous or why that won't work for you? Just let it go by. Just, your son has a license. Whew, good for him. Next question. Keep moving forward. Okay. So we want to try to avoid it because the truth is we'd rather save the objections for the listing presentation. All right. So if you can get around not dealing with them on the phone, you'll set more appointments. And if you want more clarification on anything, Curtis, please just speak up. Okay.
Yeah. I think on that one, it is something that I would love for you to speak on. I mean, somebody says, well, my son's in the business and you go, great. Where are you going to move to next? And he says, didn't
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
your son.
didn't you?
I would say, I'd say your son's in the business. Hey, that's great. It's nice to have people you can trust. Sir, when you sell the home, where are you going next? How soon do you have to be there? What do you think stopped your home from selling? I'm not going to get stuck on that. Remember, I got to keep moving forward the entire time. Otherwise, they're going to try to derail me, take me off script, start going down a tangent, or then I'm going to be handling these objections the whole time and I never actually get to setting the appointment. Now, sometimes we can't avoid it. Sometimes they're like adamant. Listen, I'm not going to meet with you until you tell me what your commission is, right? And he just won't give it up. Well, then I may have to address it. But we want to try not to deal with them over the phone. Try to put it off until the appointment. You know, they ask you, Curtis, well, how much do you charge for commission? I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm going to try to put it off. I say, sir, thank you for asking. I'll tell you what, let's make that the first thing we discuss when I meet you tonight at 5.
See, I think I've heard you do that many times from stage, and I think that is how you address it, because you're you know, as a consumer, I go, okay, he heard me, you know, and you're making that a priority, and that allows the conversation to move forward.
Okay, so let me clarify. I don't just blow off their question or their objection. I repeat and approve, and I keep moving forward. That's what I do, and that's what I want everyone on this call to do.
Great.
Okay. Let's write down the next number, please. Next thought for you on objection handling is you have to remember that objections, I love this point. I love it. Objections usually come from someone that wants to work with you, you know, but they've got a couple of questions. I love that point. I only get objections from people that are considering me to some degree. If they weren't considering me, they would not be giving me an objection. They would be hanging up. Okay. So remember, if you're getting objections, I think to myself, yes, oh, we're making progress. It means they're considering me. They've got a couple questions they want to have answered before they move forward. So it's just a more healthier way to look at it, and it's the truth. Okay. So with this new thought that, you know, that it's just a question and that they're considering me, with this new thought, you can get excited about having the opportunity to respond. You know, you can be like, oh, great, let me answer that. You know, they're like, how much do you charge? And how many homes have you sold, Ron? And, you know, they have all these important questions for themselves, right? Okay, good. So now you can just be excited because you know that you're getting even closer to the appointment or closer to being hired or the signature. So the next point kind of ties into number 6. It's just remember that in most cases, they won't ask a question and they won't give you an objection if they're not considering you. You get a no thank you and a hang up when they're not considering you. The only reason that they're objecting is that you are in consideration at that moment, which is kind of a cool thought to have and a fresh new way to look at these objections that we hear every day.
Well, and it overcomes it reduces the fear, right? I mean, because I think most of us feel more comfortable face to face with someone, and if people are hearing you, you know, I'm even getting excited. I think they should be excited. They go, you know what? I communicate way better in person because I've got the body language. I can read people better than on the phone, and you don't have to figure out how to be, you know, have this ninja way of reading somebody through the phone. You're just putting it off, and then you can address those better in person.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like that too. Okay, and then number 8, the next point I want you to write down, these are going to be the rules of handling objections. There are rules to follow. And when you follow the rules, you'll be much better at it. Okay, following the rules. So let's write these down, A, B, C, D, E, F. There's 6 rules. I know realtors don't like rules, but hey, you want to make a lot of money? Got to follow the rules, okay? The first rule when it comes to objection handling is never argue, ... always agree. Never argue. That's going to take you nowhere. You know, don't argue, don't disagree, don't correct them, don't make them wrong, don't make them feel silly. You guys remember an old adage you've heard your whole life, the customer is always right. Well, you have to keep that up with your dialogue with people. So no matter what their objection, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how ridiculous it sounds or how stupid it may be, you're going to agree. Always agree. Okay? Watch. I can understand. That makes sense. I appreciate that. You're right. I share your views. I can see why you'd be concerned. That's a valid concern. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to agree with people and what they say. You know, I'm asking for the appointment. He says, you know what? You realtors are all the same. You guys are all the same. I'm going to go, yes, sir. I agree with you 100%. And I have to ask you, when you sell the home, where are you going next? Right? I just agree. It's the first rule. And I got to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you a secret of mine. Agreement is my best sales weapon. Because when I agree with the customer, when they're, you know, saying no or objecting, when I agree, well, I'm not a threat to them or their belief or their plan or their little strategy they came up with. I'm not a threat to it. So then they generally will talk to me. I said, oh, you folks are going to try to sell it on your own for a month? Good for you. You can do it. Just a matter of time and how much money you want for the house, but you can definitely do it. Then I would ask them question.
So
I agree with everything. Right?
I think a natural question for people then is depending on how you agree, does that not validate their position?
That's the fear. That's the fear the agent has in agreement, but I don't know. I don't worry about that. I don't think I have that much influence over them. They already believe what they believe, which is why they're telling me this. So I just agree. Oh, sounds like a cool plan. And then I start asking questions. And then I find out that's not really their plan. That's just what they're telling me. Okay? All right, so write down letter B. So the first rule, never argue, always agree when you're handling objections. Letter B, smile and nod your head a lot. Smile and nod your head. Okay? That puts you in agreement. And you want to do this whether you're in person or even over the phone. She'd be smiling and nodding the whole time. Write down letter C. When handling objections, ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. Instead of telling, Curtis, right? You know, a lot of agents, when they get an objection, my brother has a license. He's a part-time realtor. He has a license. Well, then the agent will launch into a long explanation of why that's no good. Ineffective. I'm going to agree, I'm going to smile, and then I'm going to start into some questions about what they want, where they're trying to go, and what they're trying to do. Letter D, listen carefully to the answers. Big thing right here, when you're doing this, you got to really be able to listen to what they say and how they say things and certain buzzwords they may use. Listen carefully to the answers. Now, the only way you can listen carefully is if you have your scripts memorized. If you don't have them memorized, you're not really listening. You're just waiting to talk. You're waiting to read the next question on your script. Okay? So we want to be able to listen carefully. And Mike Ferry's trained me that if I listen, they'll usually tell me everything I need to know to close them. It's when we don't have things committed to memory that we're not totally listening. Okay? I love letter E, or our next rule. Answer the objection if necessary. Answer it only if necessary. Because sometimes you can just smile and nod. Oh, your daughter has a license. Oh, nice. Next question. See, I learned, Curtis, that homeowners will bring up things like objections simply just to partake in the conversation and to participate. Like what else are you going to ask a realtor about except how long have you been selling real estate? You know, and if you're a new agent, you're like, oh my God, he's objecting, right? And maybe he's just trying to talk to you, okay? So only answer them if you have to. Otherwise, let them fly by. I like to move my head, right? Let it go by. Okay. And then the last rule, which is huge, keep moving forward with your presentation. Keep moving forward with your presentation. You got to understand, the appointment, if you're trying to get the appointment, is at the bottom of the script. If you get stopped on the first two questions, or you get stuck at an objection up here, you're never going to make it to the bottom of the script. And the appointment only happens when you reach the bottom. So you got to make it all the way, like on expired script, you have to make it all the way to question number 11. Okay? Otherwise, there will be no appointment. So like a running back in professional football, you know, you get the ball, they hand off the ball, you put your head down, you start running up towards the end zone, towards question number 11, the goal, the appointment. And they try to tackle you, and they try to stop you, and they try to grab you and pull you back. But you have to keep your feet moving and keep moving forward. Next question, next question, next question. When someone doesn't want to answer your question, you know, I say, how much do you owe on the property, sir? Oh, I don't think that's any of your business right now. Yes, sir, you're right. Next question. Don't get stuck. Don't start explaining why you're asking. Don't talk to them about it. Just get on to the next question. You're right. Next question.
Well,
okay? Keep moving forward.
There's a few points in there that I think when you put together, not that it's a secret, but you keep mentioning scripts, and to that rule specifically, if they don't have a script that has a goal at the end, I think that's something we hear is people just are aimlessly talking, hoping that the appointment's all of a sudden going to present itself within just having a conversation with people. And what I love about what you're saying, keep moving forward, is you're moving forward toward the appointment when you're prospecting. In their home, you're moving toward the listing. And in order to do that properly, you have to have the script.
Yeah, I love that, Curtis. The fact that you just call someone up and have a conversation, the appointment is not going to appear. But a lot of times the agent thinks it will, or the agent is going to wait for the customer to close them for an appointment based on their talking. Okay, so no, you're right. And you guys provide great scripts. We have great scripts, and they have a purpose. They are strategic in nature, and they take you to appointments most of the time with a motivated seller or buyer. Okay. All right. So did anyone have any questions on those points before I move on? Are they able to ask questions, Curtis?
They should be able to. Let me pull it up. So if you send an appointment on the first call, do you continue to pre-qualify? Do you jump right into the pre-qualification script on the same call?
Yeah, so what we teach you guys is that if setting the appointment was fairly easy, you can slide right into the pre-qualifying questions once you set the appointment on the same phone call. Okay, if it was easy, if you're feeling it's going to be okay. A lot of times the agent is going to want to do a little research on the value of the home before they pre-qualify. So whether you do it on the same call or you make it a second follow-up call, it's entirely up to you. But heck, if you do it on the same call, it just saves time for both you and them. Right. Okay, so some of the people who are bigger producers, just do it on the same call. Now, but here's something I want to tell you. For instance, if you're using expired script, it's 11 questions. And then the pre-qual script is another 12 questions. That's 23. That's a lot. And if they don't see an end in sight, they can maybe get frustrated or a little annoyed, right? Or they don't want to continue. So once I set an appointment with you, Curtis, I would say, so Curtis, now that we're on at 5 o'clock, would you like to keep our appointment brief when we do meet, Curtis?
Yes.
May I ask you a few more questions in order to keep tonight's appointment brief and to the point?
Sure, no problem.
Good. I have 12 more. It'll take 3 minutes, number one. And then I just start asking the questions.
Great.
See, so I'm future pacing them that I do have 12 more, and it is worth your time by answering them. See, I say, would you like to keep our appointment brief? And they all say, yeah. So can I ask you a few more questions in order to keep it brief? Sure, go ahead. But if I just launch in like, okay, now that we're on at 5 o'clock, I have 12 more questions. I mean, they don't really, that may not go your way.
Right.
Let them know why you're doing it.
Great.
Good question. Thank you. All right. So I'd like you guys to write down. So there's really two general types of objections. Objections we get at the beginning of a prospecting call, and then objections we get when we're closing, whether we're closing for the appointment or we're closing for the signature or whatever you're asking them to do. Okay, so we get them at the beginning, we get them at the end. when we receive objections at the beginning of a prospecting call, let's refer to it as a reflex no. It's like a knee jerk. I'm jerking my knee right now. No, no. Anytime there's a salesperson, would you like to buy? No. Would you like to try our? No, right? People are that way when it comes to sales calls. Okay, so it's a reflex no at the beginning of a script. There's a simple template, and those sound like, I'm not interested. How'd you get my number? Take me off your list. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'm taking the kids to school. They blurt something out as soon as you introduce yourself. Reflex no. Simple 3-step process to follow. Couldn't be easier. Repeat the objection. Repeat the objection. You're walking into a meeting. Repeat what they say, and then approve, letter B, or step number 2. Approve/agree with what they say. You walk into the meeting, I understand. You're taking the kids to school, I get it, right? Repeat and approve. Agree with whatever they say. I don't have time for this right now. You don't have time? I hear you, sir. Okay. Then step 3, ask the next question or ask another question. Like anything to keep the conversation going. You can't get brushed off at the beginning of the call. You got to keep it going. Keep them engaged. Okay. So we're going to repeat, approve, and ask the next question. So you don't have time right now? I understand. Then another question. Shall I be brief? I love that one. Shall I be brief? They always go, well, yeah. And then I just go right into my normal script, normal pace. Okay. You're not interested? I hear you. I would, and then I go on to my script. The reason I'm calling is to ask, when you sell the home, where are you folks going next? Repeat, approve, and ask the next question. Okay. So it's kind of in line with those rules I told you about keep moving forward, right? Only handle it if you have to. And this situation, if it's a reflex no, we probably don't have to address anything they say. They don't know you yet. They haven't spoken with you yet. And they don't know that they want to talk to you yet. So keep them engaged. Now, a lot of times, like when we call expireds, they can maybe tend to be a little frustrated at their situation. So they express their frustration to us when we call. Well, the first question, second, third question on that script, they may not want to answer. When you sell the home, where are you going next? It's none of your business. What do you think stopped your home from selling? See, that's question number 4, right? And that is going to be one of what I call the hook, where I hook them. On the expired script, question 4 and question 5, if they're going to talk, they'll answer those questions. What do you think stopped your home from selling? Well, let me tell you, it's the agent we had, they launch into something. Or question number 5, how did you happen to pick the last agent you listed with? And then he goes, my wife, met her and blah, 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 blah. And see that now they want to tell you their complaint. So now we're talking. But if I get brushed off on question number 1, hi, this is Ron. I'm not interested. What happens, Curtis, is the agents will try to handle the objection. You're not interested? Well, you haven't even heard what I have to say yet. It's just so funny. Just keep moving. Put your head down like a running back. Keep your feet moving. Push through. Push through. Okay? All right, good. Are there questions on that before I move on?
Yeah, a couple questions are coming in about, because you're mentioning the scripts and saying, well, that's question 4, that's question 5. People are asking about, well, what are the questions in the script? And I think they can get those right. If you go to MikeFerry.com, you can download. There's hundreds of scripts on there. I mean, maybe not hundreds. There is.
Well, not hundreds. We have all the basic scripts that we're talking about today. We have all the appointment setting scripts. We have the listing presentation. We have so many complimentary downloads. It's all on MikeFerry.com. Okay. Click on resources. It's all there for them.
Great.
Okay. And if they haven't, and then you guys provide similar scripts as well. Okay. So those are all available. We're not going to go into them now.
Right.
But when you script, everyone will understand what I'm talking about.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Is that the only one?
Yeah, that's it for now. A lot.
Okay,
There's a
so
lot of
now,
questions coming in. I just know you're going to answer them because a lot of the questions coming in are the objections that we're going to go over specifically later. So.
okay, all right, good. Now, the second type of objection, Curtis, that we'll hear are going to be closing objections. Objections that come when we're closing for the signature, closing for the appointment, closing for the price reduction, closing for whatever you're asking them to do. Then we get objections also. Okay, and we're going to follow a 4-step process. 4 steps. First one is we're going to repeat, approve, handle, and step number 4, close for the appointment again. Repeat, approve, handle, close. Repeat, approve, handle, close. Now we have to be prepared to do this 5 times, because all the studies show that 80% of the sellers will say yes after the 5th close. So we ask for an appointment, they object. I have to handle it, close, they object, handle it, close. They do this 3, 4, and sometimes 5 times, and then they'll say yes. But what I've learned is that most real estate agents are not prepared for this 5 closes. They don't know what the guy would be like, well, I have to talk to my wife before I give you the appointment. Let me talk to her first, call me back. I got to repeat, approve, handle, and close. So would 4 o'clock or 5 be better? And he's going to say, hey, I told you, I have to speak to the wife. She's very busy with her schedule. Repeat, approve, handle, and close again. And I have to be prepared to do this up to 5 times at least. Okay? So this little 4-step process will help you do it. Okay, so you have repeat, approve, handle, and close. Next to the word handle, put in parentheses, ask 2 questions. Ask 2 questions. So it's a little template where I've taken Mike's rules and just put it together for you. He says, always agree, always ask questions, and it's your job to close. Okay, so this little 4-step process, repeat, approve, ask 2 questions, and close, is very, very effective. Okay, now that's one way to handle it. Now, when it comes to handling it, you can have several ways to do it. For instance, I'm holding up the Mike Ferry. These are 12 common objections that we practice and learn as Mike Ferry agents, so that we can deal with some of these things. So we have the 12 objections in this book. So for instance, you can repeat, agree, use an objection handler, and then close. Okay, like a prepared strategic handler, an answer to the question. Repeat, approve, handle it, and then close. Or you could repeat, approve, ask a couple questions, which is super easy, and then close. Okay, Curtis, does that make sense to you?
Makes a lot of sense. I hope it makes sense
to
the people listening.
well, yeah, me too. That's why I'm asking you. Okay, great. So what I wrote down is I jotted down before our call some sample questions that we can ask. And when you hear these, you'll understand these are generic questions that I could pretty much ask any homeowner, and I can really predict what the answer is going to be. Like, I already know what they're going to say, which is why the question is safe to ask. Okay, so for instance, listen to these closing questions. If I sold your home within the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? Now, what is any homeowner going to say? Yeah. They're going to go, no, that'd be great. Okay, so I already know the answer. The question is safe to ask. Okay, the next one I wrote down, when would you like to see your first offer? What are they going to say? Right away. Okay. Watch. Do you like it when things are easy and effortless for you? Yeah. Okay. So these aren't, complicated, but I want to get them. I want to get them to hear my question, and I want to get an answer from them to follow this little 4-step process I have. Here's a couple more. How much equity do you have in the home? Would you like to take all of your equity with you when you sell? How long have you been planning this move? Do you want results versus excuses? Have you ever seen a written plan to sell a home? And then I jotted down, with you having a lot of equity, would you like to have a pit bull or a poodle protecting it? Okay, so they're just these general basic questions. So let me show you how this works. Let's say that I was closing. I would say, sir, so can we meet today at 4 o'clock or 5? And then he says to me, well, we're going to try it on our own for a while. Then maybe we might consider listing next month. Okay, and I'd say, great. So you're going to try to sell on your own for maybe a month, and then you'll consider listing. Perfect. Remember, repeat and approve. Perfect. And then I'm going to ask 2 questions. Sir, if I was able to sell your home within that 30 days, would that pose any kind of a problem for you? Well, no, that'd be okay. Well, honestly, on a serious level, when would you like to see your first offer? Well, we'd like to see one immediately. Okay, great. Well, listen, it won't pose a problem. You'd like to get an offer right away, so obviously we need to set an appointment. I can do it today at 4 o'clock, or would 5 be more convenient? So all I did is follow that 4-step process. Repeat, approve, ask a couple questions, and close. Okay? He says, well, I have to talk to my wife. I'm going to repeat and approve. Talk to the wife? Absolutely. We actually need her at the appointment. Hey, would your wife also like to get the most money out of the sale like you? Well, I think she would. Hey, what's her favorite house, or what's her favorite room in the new house? Well, I believe that would be the kitchen and dining room. Fabulous. The first step in getting her to the new kitchen is a brief appointment with me. And I can do that today at 4 o'clock, or would 5 be better? See, so now guys and gals, if you simply have a list of like generic closing questions, maybe you have 10 or 12 and they're printed out on a sheet of paper next to where you prospect, well then heck, you can close as many times as you have questions. Now, believe it or not, even though, see, I want you to pay attention to that. Usually my questions don't have anything to do with their objection. Because honestly, I don't want to talk about their objection. He says, I have a friend in the business. We're going to talk to him first. We're going to go, you have a friend in the business. Well, how long has your friend been selling real estate? And you see, full-time or part-time? I don't want to talk about the friend. Because first of all, the friend may not even be real. And he might be making it up just to get rid of me. Okay? I'd rather talk about other things in order to move them forward. Okay, Curtis, so is that resonating with you, what I'm saying? I'm just going to assume if it resonates with you that everybody else understands too.
Yes, it does. I think there's a lot of questions coming in is where can I get a list of these generic questions? You've given us a few. Where can I get that list is the common question coming in.
There's no list. As I mentioned, I jotted these down before I did this call with you. I typed them out just coming off the top of my head. If you go back and listen to the recording of this call, I give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I gave you 9 questions, right? Just in this little role play we're doing. You can go back and listen to these later.
Great.
Okay, but there isn't a printed one. So, but if you look at the types of questions I ask, they're easy to formulate. They're really basic. Okay, ask questions that you already know the answer to, like an attorney. Okay, so before I objections you guys sent me, I want to address this last thing. By learning the Mike Ferry objection handlers, that's the ones I showed you in the book, the ones we have published on the website, you're easily able to close 5 times. And you have to be able to close 5 times to get most of the amount of people to move forward. It's just something you've got to be able to do. And it's also something that our agents need to, okay? They've got to practice this stuff every day. Okay, good. So Curtis, if I can, I wanted to address some of these objections that everybody sent in earlier.
Please.
Okay. Yeah. And is how do I handle when the husbands who want to sell, but the wife is saying no? So the spouse page as far as moving. Well, so what do you say to when the wife doesn't want to move? How do you convince her to move? I wrote down, I have no idea. It's not my job to motivate them to sell their house. I wrote down next. Honestly, I can't, my job for people that are motivated to sell. I can't motivate the wife to sell. How, when we start getting into that, we're going to find ourselves frustrated all the time trying to get people to do things they don't want to do. And I've never had it this way where the wife need to come over and convince her husband for her. It's almost impossible. Okay. So next, some of these are, they just move on, find somebody else. Okay. Next thing, We have a family member that's an agent. We'll use them when we relist. Okay, so we have a family member that's an agent. We'll use them when we relist. I'm going to probably use my 4 questions. You have a family member? Good for you. It's nice to have people you can trust. Repeat and approve. Now I'm going to ask a couple questions. If I was able to sell your house in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? Okay, do you have any animosity about hiring your friend or your family member? Now, if you guys all on this call think about it, you all have family members. You know, would you hire them to list your home just because they got a license? Like, I don't think I'd hire my kids, honestly. A bunch of my friends, no way, right? So but I would say that to you to get rid of you if you were on the phone with me. Oh, I have a friend in the business. So I'm going to repeat, approve, ask a couple of questions, and close. Watch this. You're the 7th agent who's called me. Now, that's a reflex no. That comes in the beginning. That's not going to come 7 or 8 questions in. That's, you know, hi, this is Ron with ABC Real Estate. Oh, gosh darn it, you're the 7th person to call me today. It's a reflex no. What did I teach you to do? Repeat, approve. Agent to call you? That's got to be annoying. Sir, when you sell the home, where are you going next? Massive agreement is so fabulous, okay? Watch this. We'd rather go with Purple Brick or a discount broker like Redfin, where commissions are 1%. Hey, you're thinking about going with Purple Brick or Redfin? I can understand. It seems attractive. First question, has anyone shown you what you receive for 6%? Well, no. Are you interested to find out what you get if you decide to go with the full commission? Well, I'm a little curious. Well, I'd be happy to show you. I can show you today or tomorrow at 4. Now, you're going to have to choose what types of questions you ask, right? These are some of my go-tos that just allow me to continue the conversation, okay? But no one's, see, why do some people buy like a Mercedes-Benz instead of a really nice Toyota Camry? It's because of perceived value. Basically, that, you know, similar cars. The Camry has all the stuff, but they want the Mercedes because of status and luxury or sports or whatever it is for them. But some people will pay. And some of these people who are trying to go after like Purple Brick or Redfin because they're attracted to the 1%, they don't even know what they get for 1%, let alone what they get for 3%. So, sir, when we get together, I'll show you what you get for the full 3% listing fee, and then you can compare that with the 1% offered by Redfin, and then decide what's best for the family. Either way's okay.
Hey, Ron, I think your audio. Ron, your audio is cutting out.
A lot. And money on the table? Well, no. Well, listen, sir, with a lot of equity, you want to take every penny of it with you. Obviously, you want a second opinion before you hire your friend, right? What would be the best time, Monday or Tuesday? We're going to stay with our, oh, I'm sorry, we decided, okay, right here. I'm not interested. When people say I'm not interested, either on the phone or when you're door knocking. Well, as I mentioned to you, that's a simple reflex no. Okay, you're not interested? Going next. Keep moving. Okay. My listing, it's a reflex no. Right? Am I just calling to get your listing? No, sir, not just calling for that. I do have a few more questions, though. I'm curious, when you sell the home, where are you going next? Reflex no. This next one, we've decided to rent for a while. Well, I could do a second opinion. So you've decided to rent for a while. That's one of your options, absolutely. How much equity do you have tied up in the property, sir? $200,000? Are you the type of guy who likes to leave money on the table? Well, no. Well, listen, with $200,000 on the line, you'd like every penny of it out of it when you do decide to sell. Obviously, you want a second opinion before you decide to rent it out. I mean, honestly, what if renting it out was going to end up costing you money in 12 months? Okay, then close for the appointment. Let's get together, less than 15 minutes. I can meet you today or tomorrow at 4. So the second opinion I can use all the time, right? I simply ask, how much equity do you have? And they're like, 200,000. And, do you want to see results versus excuses? That's my second question, maybe. I want to see results. Yeah. With 200,000 on the line, you want results. Obviously, you want a second opinion before you do whatever you just told me you're going to do. So it doesn't matter what the objection is. If I ask those two questions, I can line up a second opinion before they decide to do whatever they told me. Rent it out, take a break, hire their friend, sell it themselves. Doesn't matter. I just get them in the second opinion little template. Okay. Let's see. How do you handle FSBOs who know the inventory is low and they say that they can sell it themselves? What do I say? I say, next. I'm really not going to try to spend time convincing anybody. And if some of this next one says, what do you say to FSBOs that tell you I've sold several properties myself in the past? Gosh, how are you going to convince that person that they can't do it? I'm not going to be able to. So I don't spend time trying to do it. Especially with FSBOs, you're going to probably, when they hire an agent, it's usually due to that they became ready on their own. And then the agent was there or the agent showed up. It's not the agent had magic words to change the course of their strategy or their plan. Okay. So I don't really address, if they're adamant, and I've done it before, I might suggest a quick second opinion before they give it a go, but it's probably not going to be that effective. The call with you guys today is that a lot of this is like you're trying to convert people that you can't. And instead of spending your time converting these guys, go out and find somebody who actually wants your service and needs it this week. Okay? Let me get through a couple more of these before I run out of time. How do you handle expireds hanging up on you as soon as you say who you are? Do you call them back? Sure, I call them back and I own it. I say, sorry, sir, I think I accidentally disconnected us. I was going to ask you when you, and then he hangs up again. So yeah, I'll call him back, definitely. Right? How do I handle the objection when people say you haven't? Okay, well, so what I did is I took one of our objection handlers out of our book and I modified it. So the objection was you haven't sold. Yeah.
Can you? Sorry, your audio keeps is a little spotty right now. Can you repeat the objection that you're handling right now? Sorry.
Okay, let me change it up. Give me 2 seconds. How's that?
That does sound better. Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go with the old school earbuds. Okay, so I was on, people say you haven't very many homes. So I was going to use this simple objection handler. I was going to tweak it a little bit. I'd say, you know what? I haven't sold a lot of homes. You're correct. And that's a valid concern. But the obvious reason that you'll choose me now, company has sold more homes than any other company in the area. Meaning when you sign the contract tonight, expose your property to potential buyers from all over the area. Do you realize how important that kind of exposure is? Right? Isn't that what you want, sir? Of course it is. An appointment. So, it's about having answers. And I don't expect everybody to be able to write all these things down as I say them, but you can go back and listen to the recording. Okay. Let's see. How do I overcome the feeling that I'm begging for business when I prospect? I jotted down, probably not a feeling, you're probably begging. Okay. So, which is why you feel that way. Okay. But, you don't have to beg. Under service, you're an honest agent. Your service is critical to homeowners' lives when we want to move. Okay, and you're simply offering your service to people who may need it, which is homeowners. So the begging comes from your tone in your voice, the demeanor, the way you ask questions, the way you respond to their objections. All right, and if you're coming off begging, you can change that immediately. I hope that I don't appear to be begging anybody for business right now in this webinar. I'm calling homeowners saying, hey, do you need help? Okay. Let's see. What should my expectations be when it comes to the number of times I need to contact FSBOs or expireds before getting an appointment? I wrote down hardcore, okay? Expired listings, guys and gals, they're going to relist that house within 48 hours with a new agent. So I would recommend you call expireds morning, noon, and night, morning, noon, and night, morning, noon, and night for the first few days. With for sale by owners, how often you follow up with them is going to be determined by what their motivation and what their timing is. Okay, like some FSBOs don't have a real strong reason to sell, so I may check in with them on a weekly basis. If they refuse to meet, I'll call them back next week. I call the FSBO back third week in a row. Hi, Mr. FSBO, it's Ron Cronin, ABC Realty, checking in. Were you fortunate enough to receive any offers this week? Well, no, I didn't get any offers. I say, oh man, that's a bummer to hear. You know, at my little office, we sold 14 properties since last Monday's call. And we all got together. We all agreed we're going to sell 12 more homes this week. So I thought I'd give you a call and check in. You want to get together? He says, no, I'm not ready yet. Okay, terrific. And I call him back next week. So stay on it. Guys and gals, we got to learn what Mike Ferry teaches us. 70% of your appointments are going to come from the follow-up you do, not the initial phone call.
Say that again.
Okay, now I'm training. Yeah, I'm training you. I will. I'm training you on the first appointment, but you have to understand most of the time, 70% of the time, the appointment will come from your follow-up, not that initial call. Okay, we have to keep that in mind. If we don't get it the first time, don't give up, call them back. Try again another day or the next day. Okay, this says, how do I set myself apart from other agents that call expired listings? Great question. Follow the script, number one, because most agents don't. Okay, that sets you apart. I wrote down your presence, your demeanor, your dialogue, and your tone are what's going to be sets you apart when you call these people. Okay, and the truth is, guys, I mean, don't be so concerned about differentiating yourself from everybody else. Listen, with expireds, they're going to hire someone new. It's probably going to be, they're going to hire from the agents who have contacted them is probably who they select, one of those agents who's been contacting them. So you've got to get yourself in the contest, okay? And how you separate yourself, I don't know. How about you're a better presenter? How about you're a better communicator? How about you close 5 times when everybody gives up on the second? Okay, there's all kinds of ways to do it, but it's mostly about you. And I'm trying to hustle before we run out of time. What's the best script to use in a summer rental market to list vacant rental and vacation properties? Try the absentee owner script at mikeferry.com. Absentee owner. That should be very effective for you. And then last question. What is the most effective way to invest the proceeds from my first sale so I can create a sustainable business? What's the most effective way to invest the proceeds from my first sale? Okay, join coaching. Invest in yourself. Hire a coach to teach you how to do this job at a high level so you can make a lot of money. I think that'd be the best use of your first commission. Is cold calling the only effective method to prospect? No. It's probably the most effective, but it's not the only. So another free download at mikeferry.com, and you click on resources, will be a report that Mike wrote called 61 Ways to Get a Listing. 61 ways to get a listing. Okay. Now, Curtis, you know, everything is on this list. All the coaches got together and we came up with these 61 ways. And the truth is that Mike Ferry, we only teach the top 4. At Redex, you guys offer scripts for, I think, the top 4 of that list. So everyone can download the 61 ways and you can choose which ones you want to use. I recommend you keep your activities to the top of the list, maybe the top 5 or 6 on the list, okay, for best results. And then it said, last question, actually, this is the last question. It says, do I need to get better at my objection handling, or is it just a numbers game? And I wrote, it's both. Okay, it's both. When you play the numbers game, you're going to receive a lot of objections, a lot of rejection, and then a lot of acceptance as well. So it's a numbers game. And then these objection handling things, I hope I laid out that it can be pretty darn simple if you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to do the work. Now, are there any questions, Curtis, that before it looks like we may be out of time?
I just, there's a common question here. Let me turn this back on. Let me get back here. There's a common question here where I'm going to try to distill everybody's comments into one question. But the idea is either, wow, this seems hard. They're listening to you. You've been practicing these for 16 plus years. And there's this feeling of, wow, that I don't think I could do that. So can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, what do they do? Because after 16 years, you get on here and you're throwing these out and you've got the questions, and where do they start?
They start by identifying what do they commonly hear that they don't have an answer to. So they have to start writing things down. I heard 3 times today, I have a friend, we're going to hire our friend. They need to write that down. And then they need to, write down whatever else they hear on a regular basis, and then go back to the drawing board, to your yellow notepad, and then either borrow from us, take something that I taught you, go to our website, go to your website, Curtis, and download the answers to some of these things and learn what to say to people. Okay, so start with what objections you commonly hear, and then work on one answer for each one. As soon as you're done, come back and figure out a second way to handle each of the common ones that you hear. Start there. Now, I will say to everybody, Curtis, when I was learning these skills, I have probably like 200 of these yellow notepads up in my garage in storage where I was writing out all these answers because I was frustrated. People would say something to me on my prospecting calls, and I'm like, oh, I could have got that if I would have known what to say. And I'd go home and I'd write up the answer and I'd show my wife, what do you think? And I'd try it out and experiment with it the next day. Okay. But it's a lot simpler than I think it appears, or than what agents make it out to be. Okay. You're simply just answering people's questions.
Right. Great.
Good.
Thank you. Well, I know there's more questions, and if you had time, Ron, we could get to those in here in just a second. But we had a gift for everybody on the call, and if you could, I just want to speak to that a little bit and what's coming up. And
okay, so everybody grab a clean sheet of paper, and I want you to write down July 9th through the 12th. I'm going to invite you right now to come to the Mike Ferry Superstar Retreat in Las Vegas, July 9th through the 12th. The Superstar, we put on like 40 events every year. The Superstar Retreat is our big event. This year we'll have 4,500 agents in the room. Now, if you guys can picture one large room, 4,000 agents in there, dead silent, one man talking. And the first 5 rows, the first couple hundred people in the audience are the biggest producers in the country, and they're all sitting up there taking notes feverishly, writing down every word Mike Ferry says. The Superstar Retreat, it's a 4-day program, Tuesday through Friday. So in your notes, I want you to write down 30, 30, 30, 30. 4 30s, and this is the agenda, okay? And then from here, you can decide if you'd like to come. Day 1, Mike's going to cover 30 prospecting skills. 30 different prospecting skills, not techniques, but skills, Curtis, where you learn what to say, how to respond, how to react to objections, to questions, and the scripts to use and everything. 30, this is our focus for the entire day, 30 prospecting skills. Day 2 is going to be fun. It's going to be 30 listing skills, 30 different listing skills. See, everybody on this call knows that you've got a list to exist. Everyone on this call knows that most of the agents doing most of the business are listing agents. It's the buyer's agents that jump out of the business. It's the buyer's agents that come and go. It's the listing agents are the ones who stay and make all the money. So we're going to spend the entire day 2 on 30 listing skills and how you can take more listings, entire day. Day 3 is going to be my favorite, 30 objection handling skills. I went to Mike Ferry. I said, I didn't even know there was 30. And he smiled. He says, you're going to love day 3. Okay. 30 objection handling skills is the third day. And then day 4 is probably the most important day for everybody. It's 30 mindset enhancers. Okay. Now I know I'm speaking to a bunch of prospectors on this call right now, and you guys know as well as I do, skills is one thing, but keeping this in alignment with what I want, with my goals, keeping this on track is the hardest part. I have bad days, I have distractions, I have personal issues, that all this stuff pulls me away. And at the end of the year, I come up short. So we're going to learn from Mike and from the biggest producers in the country how they keep their mindset strong. What is it they think about? How do they develop the mindset and maintain a top producer mindset? So that's day 4. Now, I haven't mentioned the first day, which is Monday, is a bonus day. Okay, it's not mandatory that you're there. It's a bonus day. We encourage everybody to come in on the bonus day on Monday, get registered, get settled in your hotel room, get checked in for the event. Okay, and then you come to the bonus session. It's a 3-hour session where we're going to have 8 top producers giving 15 or 20-minute talks on a certain subject on how to list more property. So we're going to have 8 top producers. That goes from 1:30 until like 4:30 in the afternoon. And then Mike will start on stage Tuesday at 9 a.m. Okay. Now, guys and gals, we've been doing the event for over 35 years. This is, I think, the 35th or 36th Superstar Retreat that we're going to put on this year. And the price of the program, if you sign up online, is $495. If you call into the office, it's $495. But I promised you that if you join this webinar, I was going to give you a deal you can't refuse. So here it is. Cross out $495, and I want you to write down half price. I want you to write down $247.50. And for anyone on this webinar, I'll go ahead and waive the 50 cents today if that's a stretch, okay? But for $247, you get a half price ticket for being involved in Redex, and there's a couple of guests from some other companies that you're on the call, you're invited as well. So $247, it's the 9th through the 12th. I'm gonna recommend that you join us. Now remember, it's a retreat. It's not just this 4-day training. It's a retreat. It's at the Venetian Palazzo Hotel on the Strip. Gorgeous facility, gorgeous hotel. Right? And so Mike will have us from 9 until 4. And then at 4 o'clock, we get to go out and it's Vegas, right? We got the swimming pool down at the hotel. We have the best restaurants, the best shows, the best shopping. You can do anything pretty much. Well, I think you can do anything in Las Vegas. I think it's all here for you. It's available, okay? So it's going to be fabulous. It's a learning experience. The whole thing is a tax write-off for you. We have 100 people coming from Italy to be here. We have 3 people coming from Russia. They're coming from New Zealand, from Australia, from Germany, from Belgium, from Brazil. They're coming from all over the world, Canada, all over the country. Everybody's going to meet, and it's like the Super Bowl for real estate. Now, I will tell everybody this. It's not going to be a bunch of hype. It's not rah-rah. We're not going to be rubbing each other's shoulders, and we're not going to walk on fire. We're not going to do those things. We're going to learn how to list property. We're going to learn how to make more money. We're going to learn how to sell those listings that we take.
That's
all
awesome.
right, so $247.50. Now, here's what you're going to do. If you'd like to come, you can go onto our website, MikeFerry.com. Okay, find the Superstar Retreat. Click on Events, Superstar Retreat. When you go to sign up, you're going to use a promo code. Okay, if you are a customer of REDX, then your promo code is REDX, REDX. Put that in, and they'll give you your half price discount. Now, there's some other guests on this call as well that came from North American Title. And if you are one of those title people on the call, then your promo code is NAT50. North American Title, 50% off. So NAT50 if you're with North American Title, a customer of theirs, and if you're with Redex, the code is Redex, and that will automatically give you half off of your ticket.
Awesome.
Okay. Very good. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys for inviting me. Thanks for letting me have this time with you. I hope to see you at the retreat. I promise you it will be the best event you've ever attended in your real estate career.
I can attest to that.
So good.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. There's so much just to add to what Ron is saying. First, thank you, Ron. I don't know that we were expecting that big of a discount, so we appreciate it. That's a big deal, so thank you. Again, call in or get on MikeFerry.com is the website, MikeFerry.com. We'll send a follow-up email to everybody with instructions on how to get this. So Ron, if we have questions, we'll follow up with you so we can get it to all the people who were attendees on this webinar to get that. I've been to a lot of superstar retreats over the last decade. Not only is it the best, I can tell you that we send our sales team quite a bit, and I keep having sales guys, REDX sales guys that go, they come back, get their license, and now are full-time real estate agents because
they get inspired when they're there. Yeah.
And two of my guys in the last year, the first one did 32 transactions in his first 12 months as a full-time agent because,
Good for him.
because he learned. It's worth being there. It's the information you're going to learn, but the networking and 4,500 other like-minded agents is a really fun place to be. So thank you so much. As far as any other instructions, we're going to take, Ron, if I could put you on the spot a little bit, we're going to take the questions and objections that maybe we didn't get to that people put in the question box. I can email those to you. I know you're preparing for the Superstar Retreat, but maybe if we could get an answer, and that way we can send all of those out and they'll have some answers to that. Of course,
Happy to.
3 of Superstar Retreat is all about objection handling. So if you found a lot of value in the last hour, think of a whole day with 4,500 other agents that are learning this same stuff. I think it's going to be really powerful. So we'll do that. Good. So if you're on and you were waiting for your question to be answered, we're going to respect Ron's time. We're going to get that and email that to you, and we'll get that back to you as soon as we have some answers for you. Other than that, thank you again, Ron, so much. Everybody, thank you so much. Be looking for an email follow-up with instructions on how to get the deal for the Superstar Retreat. And that's a wrap. So, Ron, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing you there. Good luck. Bye-bye.